Hi, my name is Lisa Dancing Light. I'd like to invite you to this special tutorial that can go as a companion to the Magic Mountain Basic Curriculum. There's a few things that are mentioned in that curriculum that are familiar to some people and new to others. And I would like to introduce some of those things to you right now. One of them is Brain Gym, which is part of the Educate process that I've been trained in, and these tools have been incredibly extraordinary in supporting me in my role as a performer. And I actually started doing them with my son when he was very, very young and was a different learner. Brain gyms are different exercises that can integrate for vision, for hearing, for memory, and for movement. So I can't think of many things in life that don't involve all four of those. So part of this whole brain protocol I have created with Brain Gym and a little bit of Qigong, which is another form of a martial art. It's similar to Tai Chi. And then also I've integrated some yoga poses. So these all help create a very whole brain integrated program for you, for your children, for your family. So let's get started. So Brain Gym was developed by Dr. Paul Dennison and his wife, and he was actually helping people to perform that had been diagnosed with learning challenges. And even though you're gifted, they can still help you, and they're based on brain integration. So the theory that there's a right brain, left brain, and then integrating them, and part of the way we do that is by crossing over the midline of the body. The first of the Brain Gym is called Brain Buttons, and I like to tell my students that it's like flipping a switch to a light and the brain is activated. Now that's an oversimplification, but that's the way I like to explain it. You actually take 1 and 3 finger and put it right below the collarbone, in between that indentation between the collarbone and the first rib. And you gently massage that. Now this is also called K27, which is the top end of the kidney meridian, if you understand acupuncture. And this, resting the other hand on the belly, makes this nice connection between K27 and this belly energy. So you're creating this wonderful circuitry. This is switching on your brain. So you would hold this for as long as it feels good. Now, sometimes one side may be really tender, and so you would massage that just a little bit more. Then you change hands, and same thing, the other side. And you can hold it for 3 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever feels good to you. So that's Brain Buttons. The next one's called Thinking Caps. So this one involves stimulating 200 pressure points on each ear flap. Did you know that you had 200 pressure points? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the skin and unfold it on your ear, top to bottom. And there is a theory in some schools of thought that the brain is connected to these pressure points. And actually, I've seen some pictures that it's almost laid out like a baby in the womb, so head to toe. And so possibly when you're stimulating pressure points in your ears, you're also helping to activate these thinking caps. So that helps you hear the sound of your own voice inside your head. Now, did you ever think of that? Usually we think of sound, out in the room coming at us, but this helps you hear the sound of your own voice inside your head. There's a lot of other things that thinking caps do, and actually all these brain gyms, there's about 26 or 27 of them. You can get a teacher's edition curriculum from Educate and find out much, much more. So each one of these is really valuable. The next brain gym is called the owl. So all of us know kind of this little way of thinking of the owl, that he turns his head from side to side. And so what he's doing is he's taking in information and scanning. So that's exactly what we're going to do. You're going to place one hand across your midline on the opposite shoulder, squeeze what we call the trapezius muscle. And that's a big muscle that kind of holds your head up. So you're going to give a good squeeze on that, and then you're just going to turn your head to the opposite shoulder and then back. Super, super simple. And with my voice students, I add an owl sound, so it could sound like this. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And you're also scanning the room for information. Then you would change shoulders and do the other shoulder as well. So always turn away from that hand and then back. And then you can add your owl sound. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so we've done brain buttons, thinking caps, and the owl. Now, the one that's really easy that you started doing when you were an infant just learning to crawl is called cross crawls. And the theory of this is, again, crossing over the midline of the body to integrate the right and left hemisphere of the brain. And that is to engage in full brain functioning. The theory is that when you engage in something that makes you nervous or uptight or causes a lot of adrenaline, you're shutting down part of the firing in the corpus callosum. That's crazy. So this helps you connect those firings. Really important. So the cross crawl simply looks like this. You're just crossing over and touching the opposite knee. Now, with some kids, they're not ready to do that, especially the little ones. So you can just start by telling them to just swing. For anybody that's sitting in a chair and not able to stand, they can sit and just simply tap their knees, crossing over. There's really extreme ways to do this. You can lift your knee higher to touch your elbow. You can go behind, which I really have to stop and think about. And you can go front, front, back, back. So there's all sorts of ways you can increase your ability with cross crawls. The final brain gym that I'm going to share with you is called Cook's Hookup, and it's named after a man with the name of Cook. So we have to honor him for this wonderful survival tool, because this is something that I do before I go out on stage and perform, no matter where I am. And it helps me, the way I explain it, just calm my energy and get me centered and let my body just get in touch with my brain. So the way we do this is a little bit more complicated when you're standing. You can do this sitting also. So you can stand crossing one foot over the other, making sure you're balanced. Then you bring your hands out in front of you, facing each other. Then this is the tricky part. You turn your palms outward. Then you bring one hand over the other. Clasp your hands. Bring them into your heart. You rest your tongue on the upper palate behind the front teeth. How long should you hold this? Well, it's up to you. I think a minute is really okay, but you know what the sign is that's made a difference in your body? Is you may notice a difference in your breathing, or you may, like, have you ever been around a horse when it just goes like that and it just relaxes? That's kind of what happens in your body. You'll feel a sense of relaxation and sense of calm. So you can let go, change your feet to do the other side, bring the hands out in front of you, palms out, then bring the other hand over the top, clasp your hands, bring your hands into your heart. And remember to rest your tongue behind the front teeth. Very important, because it's the connection for that meridian of energy that runs from here up down to your spine. So again, I'm not going to hold this for a minute, but you can certainly do that on your own at home. So the last part of the Cook's Hookup is very simple. You just bring your hands together and let the fingertips touch. Now, if you're really sensitive and tuned in, you can feel the pulsing of energy in your body. So give yourself time to just feel that. So that's the introduction to Brain Gym. The next segment that I include in the Magic Mountain basic curriculum, there's Qigong introduced. And Qigong is a wonderful practice that I've been doing for about 7 years. And it's simple, I'd say more simply designed than Tai Chi. Tai Chi has specific postures that you hold and then you string them together in a series of movements. This one's really simple because you just do one exercise at a time. So the first one I'm going to share with you is called Shake the Tree. So you're simply just shaking your arms and getting really loose and just kind of popping up and down on the balls of your feet a little bit. And then you can just go back and forth and just feel lots of loosening. And this is good if you've been at a computer. If the students have been sitting and reading a lot, just get them up and just moving a little bit. This is a great one. Just shake the tree. And then the next one is called swinging and drumming. And that one literally, you're just swinging around the axis of the body. The spine is your central core. And so you're just swinging and letting the arms go loose. And then you come around, kind of tap behind in the kidney area. And then shoulders. And then you can come up to the neck. Back to shoulders. Back to the kidney area and the ribs. Back down to your hips. And then not touching anything. And then just let your arms pendulum back to just a relaxed position. So that's the 2 Qigong exercises. Also, we can add a couple of yoga poses just for working with balance and celebrating more things with the earth, which goes great with the curriculum too, right? So the first yoga pose you do pretty much every day, probably many, many times a day, and it's called mountain pose. So we begin with feet under the hips, so you're really balanced. So feet or hips width apart. And shoulders are over the hips. And then your ears are over your shoulders. So ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over feet. So if I were going to stand from the side and have you see my profile, my tailbone's tucked under a little bit, my knees are soft, and my shoulders come up to my ears and then roll back gently. So my heart is lifted. And then I bring my chin just gently back in. So I want to feel a balance in the 4 corners of my feet. So that's mountain pose. Then there's one other that we can do called standing tree pose. It's a little trickier, and you can do it in 3 different levels. So the basic one is you're going to shift your weight to one side or the other. I'm going to use this foot, and then I'm going to bring my other foot. The heel just rests on my ankle. So just simple like this. And you can bring your hands up to your waist, and that's the beginning baby tree. Then you can bring, if you want to get a little bit more advanced, you can bring your foot up to your calf. And then if you want to get even more advanced, you can bring it up to your thigh. And this is standing tree pose. So those are 3 different ways to practice standing tree pose. So those are the 3 things that you can do to help in your classroom or at home or in your life to bring some more peace and balance in your brain integration. Thank you.